show you what's happening on the floor right now. You'll see the delegates are starting to stream in. This is the start of day 2, the busiest day of the NDP National Convention. And as the people start streaming in, getting ready for the day's proceedings, I want to welcome to the program itself longtime NDP strategist Kathleen Monk, principal with Monk & Associates, former director of strategic communications for Jack Layton, and I will admit, a longtime friend of mine. So, Kathleen, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Listen, let's begin with Jagmeet Singh, because as we were telling people at home, today is going to be an important day for him in particular. He'll be addressing delegates a little later this morning, and then there will be a confidence vote on him as leader. Is there anything that we're watching out for, any concern that he may not actually get the numbers? Because I think Tom Mulcair, if we go historically, was surprised by the fact that it only took 50+1. He did not get 50+1 to stay as leader, and all of a sudden there was a race. Is there anything similar like that brewing right now for Jagmeet?
Not brewing like it was in Edmonton for Thomas Mulcair after the loss of that election in 2015. That convention that happened in Edmonton in 2016 was really quite dramatic. New Democrats don't typically throw out their leaders. We're not as ruthless as potentially the Conservatives or Liberals, for that matter. But a couple of things for today. You know, Jagmeet Singh has been leader now for around 6 years. He's experienced 2 leadership reviews in the past, both garnering really high numbers. And he'll want to achieve something similar to that today. But listen, the leader is really well loved by the party. They consider him to be, really true to New Democratic values and authentic in that sense, and really thinks that he is presenting to Canadians the ideal of what a social democratic government can achieve, which is achieving things for Canadians, right? Which is, things like the GST tax credit, dental care, the first expansion, really, of our health care program that we've seen in decades. So I think really what Jagmeet Singh has to do today is prove that he's got a vision for the next election. And we're hearing indication that his actual speech today from the floor will do that. He's going to have to sell it to members so he can achieve those high numbers that he's had in the past. Okay, let's talk about the membership, because as you well know, there's the Toronto Star reporting today, some delegates, they like Jagmeet Singh, and we see that in polling. He enjoys a good popularity number when it comes to Canadian, but that does not necessarily translate to the party, and that has not necessarily translated when people go to the ballot box. So how do you cross that bridge? How does he need to address how he spreads his popularity to the party itself? Right. Well, the Democrats really have to, and the party has to do a lot of work before the next election in terms of rolling up their sleeves, and that's what they're doing here, developing the policies that they think are going to appeal to Canadians more broadly, and how they're going to differentiate themselves, frankly, from the Liberals. So while the Confidence Supply Agreement has done some great things for Canadians, New Democrats have helped to achieve great programs, there is the problem that many Canadians are unclear about whether there's a distinction between the two parties anymore. So what New Democrats have to do at this policy convention and going forward to whenever the next election is show how the New Democrats, and electing more New Democrats, more than the 25 they have just here now, could actually make a difference. And there's some opportunity because, frankly, the Liberals are on the doldrums in terms of the polls. They seem to have run out about a little gas. We're not really sure if that's a communications problem or an operational problem or just really an enthusiasm problem where the Liberal government seems to be stumbling time and time again. The Conservatives are, frankly, on the upswing, both polling-wise, financially, and growth. And frankly, they're really who New Democrats are focusing kind of their target on right now, and trying to ensure that they don't make the inroads into some of the rural ridings that New Democrats have held in the past, and frankly, some of the urban ridings that New Democrats have to keep.
Well, and to that, we certainly have heard from the very beginning, when Pierre Poilievre last year became leader of the Conservatives, he was very clear in messaging about affordability, and that has catapulted the party in the most recent polls ever since the summer.
Yeah.
How do you fend that off? Because the blue-collar vote, the workers' vote, is something traditionally that the NDP has relied on. The Canadian Labour Congress is here, I will note. But that is still another front that your party has to fight. How do you counter that message with the working class that this party represents their values better than Conservatives?
Yeah, so it's interesting. On the issue of affordability and the crisis that Canadians are facing, you're right. Pierre Poilievre has been very good at tapping into that pain and the anger that Canadians are feeling about how basically everyone's bank account is going down, 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 where it seems like some of the rich are just going up, up, up. But Pierre Poilievre has not been successful in actually presenting solutions. And that's where New Democrats and largely social democrats can make the difference. Not only tapping into the pain, but also tapping into the policies that can help alleviate that pain. How do you kind of, soothe or provide a solve to that anger? You actually help people. And the GST tax credit did that to some extent, but there are other things that have to be done too. Things like pharmacare, entrenching dental care. In terms of the working class vote that you mentioned, it is true that Pierre Poilievre is going after that working class vote, but in a very specific way. He's looking to target certain male, high-income working class folks. But the reality is that the values of the working class, about solidarity, about collective benefits, is not something that Pierre will ever speak to. So I'll give you an example, a concrete example. He's not going to go after the CEOs and their pay wages. There's policies on the floor here in this convention that are actually saying, it's kind of unfair that the average worker makes a certain wage and CEOs are allowed to make 400 times that amount. There should be a ratio. There's actually a policy on the floor that does that actually speaks to that specific concern. Pierre Poilievre will never go after CEO pay. Pierre Poilievre will never stand up for unions and collective organizing. Pierre Poilievre will never actually probably walk a strike line. Jagmeet Singh has walked, multiple strike lines in the past, and that's where workers and a working class see that kind of solidarity coming through.
Okay, well, we're watching very closely as we hear behind us right now. Day 2 is underway. A lot more to talk about with you, so I'm going to probably pull you aside at some point in the day, Kathleen. But right now, thank you very much. Kathleen Monk, longtime NDP strategist.